What up, Dokkanners? Part 2 is a little over a day away. We are going to be jumping into part 2 of the 9-year anniversary on the 17th of July at 5 p.m. PDT, my time. You can check your own local listings. It'll tell you exactly what time it starts for you when you look up the SNS social media campaign. This, as I've mentioned before, is unofficially the bookmark dates for the various parts of the celebration. This is when, at the start, you can advertise on social media to promote the game. That is ultimately why they do this at these particular dates. So considering that we are dropping this video a little over a day beforehand, there's really no time for the BROLY CHEELAI LEMO EZA, which is one of the big questions we're going to be answering in this video. Where is the BROLY CHEELAI LEMO EZA? I can tell you one thing, it's not going to be in part 1. Part 1 is not happening. We are done with part 1. All of the content that is now being announced is going to be coming up in part 2. So the ESBR, which is Terrifying Conquerors. Then we've got Super Battle Road, which is for Legendary Existence. Then we've got Super Magnificent Blue Zone, stages 4 through 6 coming up. And then we've got the rest of the Beerus story event, the rest of the Frieza story event, so both characters can be awakened to their final levels. And the second stage to the Dokkan Ultimate Thrilling Battles. So expect videos for all of this stuff. It's going to be a fun time. I will be going live when the celebration starts. So we'll be cranking out all of those fun challenge event videos and whatnot. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 100,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for all of your support. So where does that leave the BROLY CHEELAI LEMO EZA? I get it. It's weird. It's frustrating. Dare I say it's the most popular question right now, even over the Beast Gohan thing, because everybody knows Beast Gohan would happen in part 2. But BROLY CHEELAI LEMO was supposed to happen in part 1 for all intents and purposes because that's how it played out on JP. Now, the reason why it could be shifting, I only have 2 theories in my mind. Number 1, we have 2 very significant EZAs less on the global anniversary than JP because we already finished the Vegito and the Bootank's EZAs back during Golden Week. So maybe, perhaps, to balance out the fact that we don't have as much in part 3, they wanted to shift things over, maybe? So instead of like Blue Dude's EZA happening in part 2, like we originally had on our projection here, maybe they move this down to part 3, and the BROLY CHEELAI LEMO now fills in the void of the Blue Dudes in part 2 with all of the other content that's going to be happening. There's a lot of stuff that happens in part 2, so we should be fairly well taken care of. I will admit that part 1 did not quite hit the mark when it comes to content in terms of amount of content and the way that they sort of, paced everything. But in part 2, there's going to be a lot more stuff. So maybe they are swapping in the BROLY CHEELAI LEMO EZA for these guys, as well as the sub EZAs, and then these guys will be pushed down to part 3. That's one theory. The other theory is simply that because part 1 has fewer days, they wanted to add more stuff into part 2 because, never predict their next move. And maybe because they're trying to perhaps prepare for something in part 3 or part EX. That one's a little bit looser of a theory because I really have nothing to base it on. But basically, TLDR, Dokkan doing something different on global because global catch-up time. You might argue then, Toon, that doesn't make sense. If they're trying to catch things up, why wouldn't they drop the BROLY CHEELAI LEMO EZA in part 1? Hey, I'm just the messenger. Don't kill me, all right? I wanted it too. I don't want to have to wait. I'm just trying to figure out what is going through their thick skulls that is causing all of these things to happen. So I have no idea. Right, for right now, you can expect part 2, but we won't know for sure until we jump into part 2, which will be tomorrow. So this is another thing that I wanted to talk about because global doesn't get teasers for EZAs. And recently I have been saying that because I have been misremembering how JP gets the teasers on Twitter, but global doesn't get teasers. So I went back to last year because Proton showed me the way. Thank you, Proton. And so I was looking through how things played out during last year's announcements. So with the anniversary last year starting July 6th, that was the campaign breakdown. In here, they showed the announcement for the Super Vegito and the Super Buu EZAs, because if you guys may recall, those were the 2 part 1 EZAs last year. Okay, they happened on July 11th. All right, perfect. So now we move on. Part 1 happened. We got top grossing, yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. And then you start to get the teasers for the part 2 content. So we're basically right back where we were, right? This is what we're looking at for right now. These things are what we had last year. Then we get the part 2 missions, we get the part 2 campaign breakdown. So this is the part 2 campaign breakdown. So honestly, this kind of works because the dates are basically the same. Part 1 started July 6th. Part 2's mission started on July 17th, which is what we're going to be doing. And then 7 days later is when the Part 2 banners dropped. That's how they designed it. They have Part 1's banner start at the beginning of Part 1. They have Part 2's banner start in the middle of Part 2 to give free-to-play players, budget players, a little bit more breathing room between summons. Because while most of you who are eagerly waiting might be whales or might have been saving a ton, there might be some people who are going banner to banner trying to stay afloat. So for those types of players, they kind of give it a minimum of 2 weeks or better or more. And so that's why they're going to have this here. So basically, this is an unofficial date for Beast Gohan. 24th, 25th is a pretty safe bet. But in the campaign breakdown, aside from all of this other stuff, cooperative campaigns, blah, 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 the EZAs get announced for the first time. So we know that they're coming, just like we did last year. We knew Blue Kaioken Goku was happening. We knew that Spirit Bomb Absorb Goku was happening. We knew when they were going to be happening because JP's celebration, but the official confirmation happened in the campaign breakdown and nowhere else. Look, once the Part 2 campaign started, there was no teaser. There was only an announcement when it actually started. So that was what I anticipate is going to be happening this year for Broly, CHEELAI Lemo. The question is, are they going to be dropping that along with the original Part 2 stuff, or are they going to be shifting everything over? We don't know. So tentatively, I would say that this is a good prediction for when Broly, CHEELAI Lemo will EZA, as well as Paragus and Broly and Bardock Ine, and that is the July 20th mark at Reset. Ooh, Reset. So that would be basically 4 days from me posting this video. Will it happen? I have no idea. When will we find out? When we get the Part 2 campaign details tomorrow. So look out for that video. What else happens in Part 2 for us last year? It was, yeah, like a Dragon Ball medley thing. We should be getting burst mode for like Frieza and stuff like that. Those things happening 3-4 days later don't necessarily mean that they have to be teased right now. So that's another reason why we only see these and we don't see everything else. These, so I'll say like day 1 of Part 2, we get all this. Day 3 of Part 2, we get Broly, CHEELAI Lemo. Day 3 of Part 2, we also probably get like Frieza's burst mode Dokkan event. Day 7 of Part 2, we get the Beast Gohan and the Gamma's banner. Day 10 of Part 2, we would probably get like the Memorial Battle Stage 2, so on and so forth. So that's pretty much it. I got nothing else. I can't give you any more confirmed dates than that. Try to hold on, global players. I know that, you know, you want those concrete answers, but this is the best I can give you. So my predictions now: 20th for EZAs, 24th night, basically 25th for most of you for Beast Gohan. I will also say that this is a possibility. I feel like it's less of a possibility this year just because we are about to jump into the unification with JP, and so maybe they don't want to do this for us. But I would then counter by saying, why the heck doesn't JP have this? What possible reason could there be for this being a global exclusive thing? Why can't both versions get Kai's special friend summons once per year on like anniversary or worldwide download or something? It just seems absurd that JP doesn't get that. Like, is this because we're trying to find ways to have global be on the same level as JP in terms of value? Like JP gets their exclusive stuff, global gets their exclusive stuff. That's stupid. If we're going to unify, give me everything at the same time. Like, I know it's impossible for every little thing, but for things like this, come on, JP players don't deserve to be shafted from this. I'm just, that's dumb. Anyway, just hang in there. One more day. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like down below. In the comments, your thoughts on the Part 2 situation. What theory do you have in the back of your head that could possibly explain why the Broly, CHEELAI Lemo EZA has yet to arrive on global? Could they be preparing for something else? Maybe Broly, CHEELAI Lemo being a super boss? Maybe they're gonna try to give us a... I'm not even gonna say it. What do you think? Why do you think this is all happening the way that it is? And what are you looking forward to in Part 2 the most besides the Beast Gohan banner? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, be sure to subscribe for more Dokkan content in the future and click the notification bell so that you let YouTube know you're going to see more of my stuff. Do it. Thanks again. Stay tuned and remember to Dokkan responsibly.